In June 2014, a janitor named Ronald Reed died at age 92. His face was plastered all over the media because of one secret he hid from everyone, including his own family. Ronald amassed an $8 million fortune. Working as a janitor for minimum wage for most of his life, he earned about $22,000 a year in the 2000s. Yet he transformed that modest income into $8 million. And I know exactly how he did it. My name is Ivan, and I help people understand how simple financial strategies can create extraordinary results. If you're tired of wondering why your bank account never seems to grow despite making decent money, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if this video helps you figure out where you have been going wrong. Here's what most people get wrong about building wealth. They think you need a six-figure salary, a trust fund, or some lucky break to become a millionaire. But that's not how wealth actually works. Ronald Reed proved that becoming a millionaire has almost nothing to do with how much you earn, and everything to do with what you do with the money you have. The formula is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Think about fitness for a second. Everyone knows the formula: eat less, move more. Simple. But most people still struggle with it because knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently for decades are two completely different things. Wealth building works the same way. The formula is straightforward. The execution requires discipline most people don't have. Let me walk you through the exact 8 lessons that turned a minimum wage janitor into a multi-millionaire. These aren't theories or get-rich-quick schemes. This is the actual blueprint Ronald followed, and it will work for anyone willing to apply it consistently over time. Lesson 1. The wealth formula. The most important thing Ronald understood was the secret wealth formula that school never taught you. Income minus expenses equals cash flow. If you have positive cash flow, you have money left over to invest. If you have negative cash flow, you're falling into debt. Simple math. Brutal honesty required. In the book, The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel writes that true wealth is actually the money you have not spent. For every 5% of extra income that you save, you can retire multiple years earlier. Let me show you why this matters. Let's say your monthly income is $5,000. If your cash flow is zero or negative, meaning your expenses are $5,000 or more, you'll never be financially free. You'll need to work until the day you die. But here's where it gets fascinating. If you have expenses between $0 and $5,000, so positive cash flow, after saving enough, you can make your money work for you and snowball it into future income. When that future income can cover your living expenses, you're golden. Check this out. Assuming you have an annual income of $65,000 and you save 10%, $6,500, you can be financially free in 51.4 years. But if you can save just 5% more at 15% total, you can be financially free in 42.8 years. For just 5% more effort, you shave off more than 8 years that you need to work. The average American spends nearly $18,000 every year on non-essential items. Do you really need to spend $173 on takeout every month? That's over $2,000 annually that could be invested in compounding. Ronald understood this viscerally. He drove the same car for decades. He wore simple clothes. He lived below his means not because he was cheap, but because he valued future freedom more than present consumption. Every dollar he didn't spend was a dollar that could work for him through compound interest. Lesson 2, the numbers you need to know. How much money you've saved by your current age is key to measuring if you're financially on track to be a millionaire by 65. You need to know this so you can adjust your finances before it's too late. If you start saving at 20 years old, you need to save $204 per month to retire a millionaire by 65. If you start at 30, you need $443 per month. At 40, $1,030 per month. At 50, $2,795 per month. Like most things in life, the earlier you start, the easier it will be because of time. These calculations assume you're starting with $0 in savings, growing your investments by 7% every year, and increasing your monthly contributions by 2% annually to keep up with inflation. The math changes depending on many factors, but the principle remains. Start now, not tomorrow. What's the best way to save money? Here's what actually works. You automatically deposit your paychecks into your checking account. Each month, automatically transfer the amount you want to save into a savings account and the amount you want to spend into a spending account. Your spending account includes fixed monthly bills and typical living expenses. Here's the trick. Since you know your fixed monthly spend, you can set spending targets for food, entertainment, travel, and shopping. At the end of the month, you automatically know what you didn't use because that's the money left over in your spending account, which you can either invest, save, or roll over to the next month. This strategy simplifies personal finance as much as possible because psychologically speaking, the more obstacles we have in the way, the less likely we are to follow through. Lesson 3. Multiple income streams. In the book Rich Habits, Tom Corley shares that more than 75% of millionaires came from poor backgrounds and were self-made, just like Ronald Reed. But there's one thing all millionaires have in common that the IRS verified. Nearly all of them had multiple income streams, anywhere from 3 to 7. Ronald had 2 main ones, his janitor job and his investments. There are 2 main benefits to having more than one income stream. 1. You reduce your dependency on any single source, including your full-time job. The moment your boss says those dreaded words "you're fired," you're not financially ruined. 2. You can supercharge your cash flow formula. If your monthly expenses are $3,000, you can try living more frugally. Maybe reduce spending to $2,400. But there's always a limit to how little you can live on. However, if you manage to earn just a little bit more, even $100 a week, your cash flow increases substantially. To earn more money, you could do the traditional thing, work overtime, ask for a raise, get extra qualifications, or start a side hustle. Side hustles are a great way to make extra money. Depending on what you start, it will require working a few extra hours every few days, but it's worth it in the end. The average US household owes $155,622 in total debt. If you're drowning in high interest debt, focus there first. Pay off credit cards, consolidate loans if possible, and eliminate the high interest bleeding before you start investing aggressively. You can't outrun 18% credit card interest with 7% stock market returns. Lesson 4, investing is the key ingredient. Ronald didn't become a multi-millionaire from just perfecting the cash flow formula. He had one other secret. When he died, the truth came out. No one, not even his family, knew about this. Ronald had been investing in about 95 different stocks throughout his lifetime. Investing your positive cash flow is the key ingredient to building wealth, but it's vital you do it correctly. Here's the mistake you absolutely need to avoid. Day trading. You see it on social media, people analyzing charts, buying and selling 20 different times a day, thinking it's exciting and the key to getting rich, but here's what they don't tell you. 90% of day traders lose money. Ronald didn't day trade. He was an investor who focused on the fundamentals of companies. He analyzed intrinsic value and made sure investments made sense both quantitatively and qualitatively. He wouldn't have thrown his life savings into meme stocks. He invested in solid companies with real earnings, real products, and long track records. Boring companies that made money year after year. That's how wealth gets built, not through gambling on the latest hype. Lesson 5. Compound interest is the 8th wonder. There's one investing principle that separates millionaires from everyone else. Centuries ago, an emperor in China learned about chess and was so impressed he offered the inventor one wish. The inventor asked for rice, 1 grain on the first square of the chessboard, 2 grains on the second, 4 on the third, doubling all the way to the 64th square. The emperor agreed, thinking it was a silly request, but by the 30th square alone, the debt amounted to over 1 billion grains of rice. By the 64th square, the emperor owed 18 quintillion grains, bankrupting the entire kingdom. This is compound interest, and this is exactly what Ronald did. He invested for the long term where his money compounded for decades. Every 2 weeks, when he got his paycheck, he kept adding to his investments. Let's say you save $1,000 in year 1 and get 10% interest, you make $100. In year 2, you make $110 because your investment is now worth $1,100. After year 2, your investment is worth $1,210, so your interest in year 3 is $121. Over time, you earn interest on the money you originally saved and the interest you received. This creates exponential growth. Albert Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. 99% of Warren Buffett's wealth was earned after his 50th birthday. When a certain book was written, Buffett's wealth was $84.5 billion, but $84.2 billion was achieved after his 50th birthday. That's the magic of compounding. Buffett started investing at 10 years old. By 30, he had $1 million, but the real wealth came from letting that money compound for decades. Lesson 6, don't try to time the market. What would you do if you saw the stock market crash 50% tomorrow? Most people would panic and sell. Throughout Ronald's life, he witnessed 11 stock market crashes and bear markets, yet he held on to his investments because he knew this secret. You can't time the market. Your best bet is to continue investing for the long term regardless if the market goes up or down. When you think you can time the market, you're making two bold guesses. One, that you know when the market has reached the bottom and you got out at the right time. Two, that you know when the market is going back up and you buy in at or near the bottom. The University of Michigan conducted a study measuring returns from 1963 to 2004. They found that 96% of positive returns came from just 0.85% of trading days. Andrew Stotz, one of the top equity analysts in the world, observed a 10-year period and concluded that if you missed the 10 best market days over that decade, you would lose on average 66% of the gains you would have captured by staying invested. When the market moves up, it moves up quickly. If your money is on the sidelines, you risk missing the best days the market has to offer. Stop trying to time the market. Stop panicking when things drop. Just keep investing consistently. Lesson 7. Invest in yourself through knowledge. What interested me most was how Ronald learned so much about investing. The answer was simple. He actively sought out knowledge. Ronald went to his local library, read the Wall Street Journal for free, and talked to neighbors who worked at banks to learn how money works. No one deserves a chunk of your money more than yourself when it comes to education. The wealthy love to educate themselves because of the value they get down the line. Even buying a book for $8 means you're downloading decades of knowledge from the author for just a few bucks. Read books on investing, personal finance, and wealth building. Watch educational content. Learn from people who've actually built wealth, not from social media gurus selling courses on how to get rich quick. Lesson 8. Nobody is perfect, but keep going. Ronald Reed wasn't perfect. Some of his investments failed miserably, like Lehman Brothers, which collapsed during the 2008 financial crisis. But despite setbacks, he continued investing because his portfolio was diversified across many stocks. We all make mistakes. Maybe you made a bad investment. Maybe you think you're starting too late. Maybe you bought something unnecessary. But I'm here to tell you it's okay. Don't give up. The key is starting now and staying consistent. Ronald didn't get rich from one perfect investment. He got rich from making decent decisions consistently for 50 years. That's the real secret. Time and consistency beat perfect timing and genius picks every single time. The question isn't whether this works. Ronald proved it does. The question is whether you'll have the discipline to follow.